Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I am your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. For those who may somehow not know who are you?
Hello, Calvin. I am Nelson Mandela, though back home in South Africa, many affectionately call me Madiba, which is my traditional clan name. I spent my life fighting for freedom, equality, and democracy for all people in my country.
When and where were you born?
I was born on July 18, 1918, in a tiny village called Mvezo, right along the banks of the Ambesha River in the Transkei region of South Africa.
What was your given name at birth?
At birth, my father gave me the name Roli Lahla.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
There certainly is. In the Isite Xhosa language, Roli Lahla literally means pulling the branch of a tree, but colloquially it means troublemaker. I suppose it turned out to be quite a prophetic name given the waves I ended up making later in life, though I always like to think I was a troublemaker for the right reasons. As for Nelson, that was given to me on my very first day of school by my teacher, Miss M. Dingane, because it was the custom back then to give African children English names.
What was your hometown like growing up?
After Mvezo, I spent much of my childhood in the village of Kunu. It was a beautiful, peaceful, and pastoral place. It was a world of rolling green hills, clear streams, and open pastures. Life there was simple and deeply connected to nature and traditional customs.
What was your family life like?
My father, Gadla Henry Mandela, was a chief by both blood and custom, and a key counselor to the Tembu royal house. My mother, Nonkafi Nosekeni, was one of his 4 wives. I grew up surrounded by a large, loving family. Sadly, my father passed away when I was quite young, and I became the ward of the Tembu regent, Chief Jongintaba Dalindiebo. He raised me at the royal homestead in Makekizweni like his own son.
What kind of kid were you?
I was a very active, free-spirited village boy. I spent my days herding cattle and sheep, playing in the fields, and learning to stick fight with the other boys. I was observant, and I loved listening to the village elders tell epic stories of our ancestors' bravery during the historic wars of resistance.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
Growing up at the royal court, I initially imagined myself becoming a counselor or an advisor to the Tembu king, just like my father had been. Later, as I went through school, I thought I might become an interpreter between English and Xhosa, perhaps working in a magistrate's office.
What were some of your favorite activities in school?
I thoroughly enjoyed my studies, particularly history and English, but I also loved sports. I was a keen runner, and as I grew older, I developed a massive passion for boxing. The discipline, strategy, and focus required in the boxing ring really resonated with me.
What was your first job?
My very first job when I arrived in the big city of Johannesburg was working as a night watchman or security guard at a gold mine.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
It wasn't so much that I felt different from others, but rather that I realized how vastly different my life would have to be compared to the path laid out for me. When I was a young man at the royal homestead, my guardian arranged a marriage for me and my cousin. We valued our independence so much that we decided to run away to the vibrant, chaotic city of Johannesburg. That leap into the unknown changed everything.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Meeting a man named Walter Sisulu in 1941. At the time, I was just a young guy looking to find my footing in Johannesburg and trying to complete my law studies. Walter took me under his wing and introduced me to the legal firm of Witkin, Sidelsky, and Eidelman, where I could serve my articles. That introduction set me on a direct path into the heart of the legal world and the liberation struggle.
What was your biggest break?
Professionally, it was opening the first black-owned law partnership in South Africa with my dear friend Oliver Tambo in 1952. We called it Mandela and Tambo. It was a historic milestone and gave us a tremendous platform to help our people directly with affordable legal defense against the harsh apartheid laws.
What were some of your biggest struggles before success?
Oh, the early days in Johannesburg were incredibly tough. I was often completely broke, living in crowded conditions in townships like Alexandra, sometimes walking miles just to save money on bus fare, and trying to study for my law degree by correspondence at night while exhausted.
Did you ever consider quitting?
There were moments of profound exhaustion and deep sorrow, especially when the government banned our organization and cracked down on us. But giving up on the dream of a free, democratic South Africa was something I could never do. The hunger for my people's freedom was simply too strong.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel were essential to your success?
Absolutely. I was a firm believer in waking up very early, usually around 5:30 a.m. to exercise. Even during my long years of confinement, I would do vigorous calisthenics, running in place and shadowboxing right in my cell to keep my body strong and my mind sharp.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I would have happily remained a full-time quiet country lawyer or a traditional advisor in the Eastern Cape, serving my local community and tending to a small farm.
What was your life like before fame?
It was a whirlwind of energetic activity. I was a passionate young lawyer rushing between courtrooms, organizing community boycotts, writing political pamphlets, and spending late nights debating with brilliant, dedicated friends who dreamed of changing the world.
Did you have any known rivalries?
While we had plenty of intense political disagreements and debates within the liberation movement about the best strategies and philosophies to adopt, I always tried to view my political opponents as adversaries to win over through negotiation, rather than as permanent enemies.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
During the high-stakes days of the anti-apartheid struggle, I had to go underground to evade the police, and I adopted the disguise of a farm driver and laborer. People started calling me the Black Pimpernel. It was always a bit amusing to see the police searching high and low for me while I drove right past them under a completely different name.
What was your favorite food?
I have always been a man of simple, traditional taste when it comes to food. My absolute favorites are classic Xhosa dishes like umankusho, which is a comforting mix of samp and sugar beans, and a hearty oxtail stew. I also loved amasi, which is traditional sour fermented milk. My longtime personal chef, Zoliswa Ndoya, used to make these for me with so much love.
What was your favorite book?
I read widely, but Tolstoy's War and Peace was a book I deeply appreciated, particularly for its grand scale and its profound insights into human nature, struggle, and history.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
Even though I spent decades in prison and eventually became the president of South Africa, I actually failed my final Bachelor of Laws exams at the University of the Witwatersrand several times in the 1940s. I finally earned my law degree through correspondence with the University of South Africa much later. It just goes to show you should never give up on your education.
What was life like in your final years?
My final years were spent enjoying a quiet, peaceful retirement surrounded by my children, grandchildren, and my loving wife, Graça Michel. I spent time in my beloved childhood village of Kunu and in Johannesburg, enjoying the simple pleasures of family and a slower pace of life.
When and where did you pass away, and how old were you?
I passed away peacefully on December 5th, 2013 at my home in Houghton, Johannesburg, surrounded by my family. I was 95 years old.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
I would tell them that real success is not measured by wealth or status, but by the difference we make in the lives of others. Remember that a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination, and most importantly, it always seems impossible until it's done.
Do you have any closing remarks about the interview or the stories you shared that you would like to share with the listeners before signing off?
Only that I hope my journey reminds everyone listening that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things when they stand up for what is right. Thank you so much for having me on the show, Calvin. It has been an absolute pleasure sharing these stories with you.
Wow, what an incredible journey from a village boy in Kunu to a global symbol of peace and resilience. Thank you so much, Madiba, for joining us and sharing your wisdom. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.